3 years, that's how long I was trapped inside my own body, unable to move a single muscle. But I could see, I could hear, and I could feel every word my wife and my best friend spoke as they stood over my hospital bed, signing papers to have me declared brain dead. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't know that I could hear them talking about the money, the offshore accounts, the way they'd mock me between kisses in front of my unblinking eyes. What they forgot is that I built a $10 billion empire from a garage. And empires don't just disappear. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of how the man they tried to erase came back as a ghost, and how I took everything from them. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your life, or if you've dreamed of finally seeing justice served to people who wronged you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe, and let's dive into one of the most insane revenge stories I've ever covered. This is The Ghost Returns. My name is Arthur Sterling. And to understand what happened to me, you need to understand who I was. I didn't start with money. I started with an idea. In 1995, I was sitting in a garage in Silicon Valley with nothing but a laptop and a dream. While my friends were graduating college, I was teaching myself code. While they were working 9-to-5 jobs, I was working 18-hour days, sleeping on a cot between the servers. Sterling Tech wasn't just a company, it was my creation. Every line of code was written by my hands. Every client meeting was fueled by my passion. Every crisis was solved by my obsession with perfection. By the time I turned 40, Sterling Tech had grown into a $10 billion powerhouse. We had offices in 40 countries. We employed 30,000 people. And I had just been named one of Forbes' most influential entrepreneurs in the world. I thought I had everything. I had a beautiful wife named Lydia, elegant, intelligent, the kind of woman who made people stop and stare. We'd been married for 12 years. She understood the stress of building an empire. Or at least, I thought she did. And then there was Marcus. My best friend since childhood. We'd met in the 3rd grade. He was the first person I called when I decided to start Sterling Tech. He became my vice president. We'd built this empire together. Or so I believed. I had everything a man could want: power, money, family, and what I thought was unconditional loyalty from the people closest to me. I had no idea I was about to lose it all. And I had no idea it would be stolen by the hands I loved most. It was my 40th birthday. March 15th, Lydia had organized a gala at the most exclusive venue in the city. 500 guests. Crystal chandeliers. The kind of event that gets written about in society magazines. I remember how beautiful Lydia looked that night. She wore a white diamond dress, cost more than most people's houses. She held my arm as photographers snapped pictures. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. Powerful. Happy. Untouchable. We left early. Lydia wanted to celebrate privately, she said. She was driving. I remember being tired, so I leaned my head against the window, watching the city lights blur past. Then, everything changed. The highway. Late night. Empty. Lydia's hands gripped the wheel. And then I noticed it. The steering felt loose. Wrong. Like something was broken deep inside the mechanism. We approached a curve. She swerved hard to the left. The wheels didn't respond the way they should. Something's wrong, I said. My voice was calm, even then. The entrepreneur in me, always analytical. Always thinking through problems. I know, Lydia whispered. Those were the last words I heard before the car left the road. We went over the cliff. Not a gentle drop. 150 feet. The last thing I remember is the sensation of falling. Of the metal twisting around me. Of glass exploding into 1,000 pieces. And then, darkness. But not death. Never death. Worse. I woke up in a private medical facility, the best money could buy. When the doctors told me what had happened, their faces looked grim. I was alive. But I wasn't whole. The accident had damaged the neural pathways that controlled voluntary movement. The doctors used a phrase, locked-in syndrome. It means your brain is awake. Your mind is completely conscious. But your body is a prison, and you're the only one inside. I could see. I could hear. I could think. I could feel pain. But I couldn't move. Not a finger. Not an eyelid. Not a single muscle under my conscious. Conscious control. For all the world, I was brain dead. A vegetable. A ghost in a corpse. But I was conscious for every moment of it. 3 years. Let me paint you a picture of what that was like. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you can't move. You can't speak. You can't call for help. Your eyes are frozen open, staring at the ceiling. You can feel the bed beneath you. You can feel your heart beating. But you can't control any of it. Now imagine your wife walks in. She looks at you, and there's no sadness in her eyes. There's no love. There's calculation. Cold, ruthless calculation. "He's gone," Lydia said to someone on the phone. I could hear every word. Every inflection. The doctors say there's no brain activity. No consciousness. He's just a body now. That was a lie. A convenient lie. Because just before the doctors left me for the day, they'd told Lydia the truth. There was a small chance I could hear everything. That my consciousness might still be trapped inside. They said it gently. They said it was unlikely. She didn't care about unlikely. She cared about the $10 billion. Marcus came to visit. I heard his footsteps before he entered. I'd known this man for 35 years. We'd built an empire together. We'd celebrated the births of each other's children. We'd been brothers in everything but blood. He stood over my bed, and I heard him laugh. "He's gone," Marcus said. Finally. Do you know how long I've been waiting for this? My blood, what little I could feel of it, turned to ice. Lydia kissed him. Right there, in my room, over my body, she kissed him. For 12 years of marriage, I'd been faithful. Loyal. Devoted. And the entire time, my wife and my best friend had been waiting for me to disappear. "The papers are ready," Lydia whispered. "Once they declare him officially dead, we can start moving the money." "How much have we already moved?" Marcus asked. 300 million to the Caymans. 500 million to Singapore. Another billion to offshore accounts Marcus set up years ago. The doctors think it could be another 6 months before he's officially gone. We'll have time. I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw at them. I wanted to make them understand that I could hear every word, every confession, every betrayal. But my body was a prison, and the guards were the very people who'd locked me inside. Every day for 3 years, they came to my room. Not to comfort me. To talk about the money. They discussed moving Sterling Tech's assets. They talked about selling it to a competitor. They laughed about the employees who'd lose their jobs. They made plans for a life of luxury built on the corpse of everything I created. And I could do nothing but listen. Hope, I learned, dies slowly. But it doesn't die completely. There was one person who hadn't abandoned me. Sarah Chen. She was my personal assistant for 15 years. When Lydia and Marcus stopped visiting regularly, Sarah came every single day. She'd sit by my bed and talk to me about the outside world. She'd read me the news. She'd tell me about the company I'd built, how they were tearing it apart, selling it piece by piece. And then, one day, she did something extraordinary. She found a neurologist who was conducting experimental research into locked-in syndrome. A treatment that was decades ahead of its time. Brain stimulation therapy combined with neural regeneration protocols. It had a 90% failure rate. But for the 10% it worked on, people could regain movement. Without telling anyone, certainly not Lydia or Marcus, Sarah began funding the treatment. She paid for it with her own money. $100,000 a month. every cent she had. If anyone had a reason to fight back, Sarah told me later, it's you. For 6 months, I underwent the treatment. And slowly, impossibly slowly, things began to change. Sensation returned to my fingers. Movement flickered in my toes. My eyes, which had been frozen open for 3 years, could finally blink again. But I didn't show them. While the doctors and nurses celebrated my progress, while Sarah held my hand and cried with joy, I made a decision. A dangerous decision. I decided that when I regained full movement, I wouldn't tell anyone. Not Lydia. Not Marcus. Not even the facility. Because I had something they didn't have. 3 years of audio recordings. 3 years of confessions. And something else they'd given me, an incredible gift wrapped in rage. I had nothing left to lose. The night I could finally walk without assistance was the night I walked out of that facility forever. I didn't go to the police. I didn't go to a lawyer. I couldn't. Marcus had money, influence, and friends in every institution that mattered. The police could be bought. The courts could be corrupted. Justice through the legal system was a gamble I couldn't afford to lose. So I disappeared. For a year, I became someone else. I grew a beard. I changed my voice through surgical procedures. I moved to a different country. And most importantly, I accessed something I'd hidden years ago, a Bitcoin wallet from the early days of cryptocurrency, when I'd been obsessed with the idea of financial freedom. 12,000 Bitcoin. Worth almost $900 million when I finally accessed it. With that money, and with a new identity, Victor Thorne, I began to plan. I didn't want to destroy them quickly. Quick destruction would be a mercy. I wanted them to experience what I'd experienced: helplessness. Betrayal. The slow realization that everything they believed in was a lie. First, I created a detailed financial profile. I knew every account they'd moved money into. Every offshore entity. Every shell company. Sarah had been gathering information for years, documenting their theft. I had it all. Next, I devised the trap. As Victor Thorne, I approached Marcus with an investment opportunity. An AI city development project in Southeast Asia. The kind of thing that screamed too good to be true to anyone with sense. But Marcus didn't have sense. Marcus had greed. This project will triple your investment within 18 months, I told him, showing fabricated financial projections. But I need partners who understand scale. Who understand what it takes to build empires. Marcus brought Lydia in. And because greed is a virus, it infected them both. How much capital are we talking about? Lydia asked, her eyes gleaming. 50 billion, I said calmly. But I need assurance. Collateral. The kind that says you're serious. Marcus didn't hesitate. The family mansion? And Sterling Tech, I said. The company you stole from Arthur. That would make a compelling gesture of faith. They transferred ownership without blinking. Every document they signed was being routed through shell companies I controlled. Every penny they invested in that AI city was flowing directly into accounts I owned. They thought they were becoming the richest people in the world. They were signing their own death sentence. But money wasn't enough. I needed them to destroy each other first. While they were celebrating their incoming wealth, I turned my attention to their relationship. Trust is a delicate thing. And infidelity, real or fabricated, is its most deadly poison. I hired actresses. Specifically, I hired them to target Marcus. Beautiful women who would approach him at clubs, at business events, at private dinners. They would touch his arm. They would laugh at his jokes. They would make him feel desired in a way Lydia hadn't for years. And they would vanish with photographs. I sent those photographs to Lydia anonymously. Picture after picture of Marcus with other women. Intimate moments. Suggestive positions. None of it was real, these were actors, choreographed scenes. But to Lydia's eyes, it was proof of betrayal. The effect was instantaneous. Lydia confronted Marcus. He denied everything. But the photographs were so convincing, his denials sounded like the lies of a caught man. Trust fractured. Then it shattered. I was destroying them not with violence, but with the weapon they understood best, betrayal. The marriage collapsed within months. Separate bedrooms. Separate lawyers. Separate bank accounts as they began to divide the assets. The perfect couple, the ones who'd mocked me as I lay helpless in a hospital bed, was tearing each other apart. All I had to do was watch. The grand finale was scheduled for a Friday night at my mansion, though they didn't know it yet. I organized a massive launch party for the AI City project. Every major investor in the city was invited. Every news outlet. Every influencer who mattered. 2,000 people. All gathered to celebrate the success of a project that didn't exist. Lydia stood on a stage, radiant in a black gown. Marcus stood beside her, in a suit that cost more than most people's annual salary. They were about to announce the opening of a new era. An empire built on the foundation of everything they'd stolen from me. They were also about to learn that empires built on lies collapse faster than they rise. The lights went down. A giant screen behind them flickered to life. And what they saw wasn't a city plan. It was security footage from the hospital. It was them. Standing over my bed. Admitting to sabotaging the car. Confessing to the affair. Discussing the money they'd stolen. It was every confession. Every laugh. Every moment of cruelty, captured on video and projected in front of 2,000 witnesses. The crowd gasped. People started recording on their phones. News cameras began rolling. I'd already briefed the police with the evidence 3 days before. They were waiting outside. And then I walked on stage. I'd shaved the beard. I wore the clothes of the man I used to be. I took off the glasses, and I looked Lydia directly in the eye. For the first time since the hospital bed, she saw me. Not as a ghost. Not as a memory. But as a living, breathing man she'd tried to erase. The bill, I said quietly, so everyone could hear, is due. Lydia's face went white. Marcus tried to run. But the police were already moving. Handcuffs. Screams. The sound of justice, swift and public and absolutely complete. As they were dragged out, sobbing, Lydia turned and looked at me one last time. In her eyes, I saw the exact moment she understood, you can't kill a king. And if you try, you better make sure he stays dead. In the months that followed, everything fell into place. The Victor Thorne investment scam was exposed, and Marcus lost every dollar he'd invested, hundreds of millions gone. Civil lawsuits stripped him of the assets that remained. He now faces 30 years in prison for attempted murder and fraud. Lydia was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, grand theft, and wire fraud. She's serving a 45-year sentence. The same woman who'd stood over my body and mocked me was now confined to a cell, with nothing but time to reflect on her choices. Sterling Tech was returned to my control. I rebuilt it with loyal people, with Sarah at my side as my new COO. We're stronger now than we ever were. My children were returned to my custody. I got to watch my daughter graduate high school. I got to attend my son's college graduation. I got to be the father they never thought they'd have again. And the mansion? I still live there. Sometimes I stand in the hallway and remember the moment I walked back through those doors as a free man. But here's what I want you to understand. Revenge isn't about destroying people. Real revenge, the kind that matters, is about reclaiming what's yours. Your dignity. Your life. Your future. They tried to steal all of that from me. And I took it back. There's an old saying, the best revenge is living well. But there's a more important truth beneath that. The best revenge is refusing to let what they did to you define who you become. Lydia and Marcus tried to bury me. They tried to erase me. But they couldn't erase the man who'd built an empire in a garage. That man was still there. Waiting. Watching. And when the time came, he reclaimed his life. Betrayal hurts. Loss hurts. Helplessness is one of the most painful things a human being can experience. But it doesn't have to be permanent. And sometimes, if you're patient enough, and if you have the courage to become someone new while still holding on to who you really are, sometimes, justice finds a way. Even ghosts can walk in the light again. If the story gave you chills, if it made you feel the deep sense of satisfaction that comes from seeing justice served, smash the like button right now. Tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge story you've ever witnessed? Have you ever come back from something people thought would destroy you? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this. Stories of triumph. Stories of justice. Stories that remind us that no matter how far down you fall, if you're willing to fight, you can always find your way back. I'm your narrator, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong. Stay vigilant. And never forget, the best revenge is always the one they never see coming.